Hello everyone and welcome to the Blue Skills Training Program. I am Isaac Gimberson and I'm your coach on the program. Today we'll be talking about responsibility as a skill. Now what is responsibility? Responsibility is the state or fact of being responsible, answerable or accountable for something within one's power or control or management. So when you are responsible and you are accountable, right, and you are answerable for the things that are within your control or that are under your care, under your management, you are said to be what? A responsible person. So if you are a responsible person, something or you're responsible for something, you will be held accountable for the outcome of that thing because that thing is in your care and it is your duty. That is what it means to be responsible. Now, who is a responsible person? When we look at someone and we say, this person is a responsible person, what do we mean? A responsible person is one who is reliable, who is dependable and trustworthy, and who understands the importance of meeting up their obligations and then living up to their promises. So a responsible person is somebody that is reliable and trustworthy, and then this person understands how important it is for you to meet up to an obligation or to keep a promise. Once somebody has these qualities, the person is called a responsible person. So the question is, are you a responsible person? Now, a responsible person understands that they must make their own choices and decisions, and they cannot depend on others to solve their problems. Responsible people always take ownership of their choices, ownership of their decisions, and then ownership of the problems or the challenges that they face. Now, what is the importance of responsibility as a skill? One, it provides a sense of purpose. Number two, it builds resilience in the midst of adversity because responsible people know that it is not up to anybody but themselves, right? To make up for their decisions, to make up for their mistakes, to make up for the challenges that they are facing. They tend to have resilience because there's nothing or no one to fall back to. So they tend to have resilience even in the midst of adversity. Another importance of responsibility is that it helps you become more mature, right? People who are responsible, who have responsibility as a skill, tend to be more mature and tend to be growth minded. People who are responsible are also very accountable. They are accountable for their actions, they are accountable for their decisions, and they are accountable for their choices. Finally, they tend to have great levels of productivity. Responsible people are constantly taking ownership of tasks. Responsible people are constantly taking ownership of work to be done or work done. Therefore, they are always productive sets of people. Now, what are types of responsibility? There are different types of responsibility. There's individual responsibility. That's responsibility for yourself. There is parental responsibility. This is for parents, and that is the responsibility that they have over their children. Next is social responsibility, right? Accountability for society or things that happen in your immediate community. Next is corporate responsibility. It is accountability that a business has towards its customers or the accountability that a business has towards its stakeholders, right? So a business must be accountable to its customers and stakeholders, and that means that what they are responsible. Then we also have environmental responsibility. It is what accountability for nature and our environment um, generally. Responsibility and the consequences of not taking responsibility. I'll start with the benefits. Number one, I'll start with the consequences. Sorry. Number one, the consequences is that what? Damaging relationships. So I'll do it this way. The benefits and then the consequences. The benefit is that what? People who take responsibility always have great relationships, while people who do not take responsibility always shine up and shine away from responsibility always damage relationships. Next is what? Limiting personal growth. People who always take responsibility tend to be growth minded, and then they tend to be more mature, while people who shy away from responsibility always limit their personal growth. Thirdly, people who um, take responsibility tend to always have the trust of the people that are around them, right? Because, like we said in the definition, that a responsible person is somebody that is reliable and trustworthy. They are always taking ownership, right? So, people who are people who are um, people who take responsibility tend to have the trust of people that are around them. Because remember, we said in the definition that a responsible person is somebody that is trustworthy and dependable and accountable. So people around them tend to trust them. Why people shy away from responsibility always do not have the trust of the people around them. Finally, people who always take responsibility always win opportunities. Opportunities are always coming to them because they are reliable. People know that when they trust them with things or they commit things to them, it is most likely going to be successful. But people who shy away from responsibilities always miss out on opportunities. Even if the opportunity is meant for them, people will doubt giving them, or people will refrain from giving them those opportunities because they think that they might lose it, or they might blow it, or they might take up when things get difficult. So these are the pros and then the cons, or the benefits and the consequences of taking responsibility or shying away from responsibility. How to become a responsible person? How do you become a responsible person? How do you start to improve your ability to be responsible? Number one, you have to practice self-control, right? Do not be driven by your emotion. The moment things get difficult, you want to take off and all of that. So self-control is a very important part of practicing responsibility. Second, always take ownership. If there's a mistake, when it's good and when it's bad, actually, take ownership. Most times people like to take ownership when everything is good and then take off when everything is bad. So taking ownership is very, very important part of being responsible. Accept the consequences of your action. One key to becoming a responsible person is that even when your actions have consequences, you're not running away from the consequences. You accept the consequences of your actions. If you take a risk or you take on a project or you do a particular thing and the thing backfires, stand there and take full responsibility. Be accountable for that action that went wrong. That makes you a trustworthy and a reliable person, and that makes you responsible. Next is to always be honest, even if it comes with consequences. Responsible people are always honest people. They tell the truth even if there are consequences. Again, this makes you reliable, this makes you accountable, and this makes you trustworthy, and therefore it makes you responsible. Next is always stick with your words. Do what you said you will do. Remember, in one of the definitions of responsibility, we say there are people who understand the importance of living up to their obligation and then keeping their promises. When you make a promise to someone, make sure you keep it. It is one of the keys to becoming a responsible person. Insist on keeping your promise. Then next is take action on the things that you consider important. Responsible people are action takers, right? They are not dilly-dallying, they are not delaying, they are not lazying about, they are people of action. And then finally, learn from your mistakes. Responsible people do not blame others for their mistakes. Responsible people do not blame people for outcome. They always try to look inward and then they learn from their mistakes. These are keys to becoming a responsible person. Now, before we end this class, I'll leave you with a reflection. In what way have you been irresponsible? In what way have you been running away from responsibility? And then finally, what way will your new habit of responsibility help you in your business, in your career, and in your life generally? Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next class.